And then don't forget record.
You record here. All right. And then where did the thing go?
What thing?
Facebook Live. Here we go. Because I got to turn this down. All right, everybody. We're on Facebook Live here today.
All right, 30 seconds.
Thank you all for joining us here on Facebook Live. We are going to be talking about structured water, one of the great important things that we can use on a daily basis. So hang on, and the show will begin very shortly. Thanks for listening. Everybody around the world, appreciate our numbers are taking off. We're doing really well. So I appreciate all the support from each and every one of you listeners. And please share and go back. If you missed an episode, go back to the previous archives. Wonderful, wonderful information.
All right, here we go.
Welcome to Take Back Your Health. Your hosts are Dr. Sunil Pai and Maureen Sutton, who will explain the shocking truths about healthcare, prescription drugs, food and supplement industries. They will help guide you to take back your power and feel great again. Now, here's Dr. Sunil Pai and Maureen Sutton.
Welcome, everybody. Today is a great show. Today we're going to talk about something unique and different that many of you may not have heard about or have heard about indirectly through other ways. Today we're going to talk about water, and more importantly, structured water and what structured water is. This is a perfect topic today because just this past weekend we had a lot of rain in Albuquerque. So what a great way to start off is talking about structured water. And today we have a special guest, Jeffrey Riggins, who's joining us, who's the president and CEO owner of Helix. HELIX.co, and we're going to talk about what structured water is. So welcome, Jeffrey, to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. This is going to be fun.
All right. So explain to us a little bit about yourself. And, Maureen.
We forgot to read his bio.
Sorry about that. I'm just so excited.
So I want to tell you a little bit about Jeffrey
Maureen,
and what he's all about.
Tell everybody about Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Riggins is the son of a true innovator, including welding, production, manufacturing, and countless products and solutions many of us use today. Building off original innovations of water structuring devices through stacked geometries, hopefully he'll tell us what that is, and combined with discoveries in nutritive frequency enhancement led to field applications in water restructuring devices spread across 14 countries. With years of scientific study and design, these water restructuring devices have been demonstrated to double the yield of crops like rice and vegetables and increase the nutrient density with less water. In addition, they have the ability to eliminate disease-causing bacteria and viruses with fewer to no chemicals. Oh, that's great. Helix, the 5th generation of water restructuring devices, is easy to use with options for water bottles, handheld, showers, and inline units for homes. Unlike expensive MLM machines or devices that use electricity and need replacement parts, Helix provides amazing results. Yes, it does, and we have experienced it.
So, Jeffrey, welcome to the show. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in understanding and working with water.
Well, I can't beat the bio. I mean, that's the background of it. Back in 2000, Clayton Elty and I had started I was in Pakistan, and he had developed the first multi-spin device using spin chambers. And I took the first one, or one of the first ones he made, back to Pakistan. After the 9/11 event, we started bringing tons of salt lamps into the U.S. And over a period of time, we brought in like over 500,000 pounds, and now everybody has salt lamps. But
Yes.
that period of time, he really started focusing on developing the structuring devices into what we see, the stack geometries. In other words, the stacks of balls. It's really his true innovation was stacking those balls to get, balanced spin. And I put my time and energy into bioelectrics, using pulse magnetic waves and electrical waves to basically feed racehorses. And we used them for helping chemotherapy victims back to health. And now over this last few years, in working with Clayton, I started working in with, I guess almost 9 years ago, directly on the new innovations of the stack geometries design. And then as we went in our separate directions, I went into agriculture predominantly and livestock, and he stayed more into the human health aspect of things. I started using the triple stack geometry. We started wrapping units in minerals and elements, and basically coming down to these little rings you see there, which have about a half an ounce of, oh my gosh, full spectrum of elements, minerals, organic material under about 120,000 pounds of pressure. So it literally puts off this massive field of energy. It's very natural to the body. It's all a DC scalar wave. And the energy wave carries the frequency of all these beneficial nutrients and mineral and elemental frequencies right to the cells. So it's just been kind of a coalescence of a lot of experience with different family and friends over the years that got us into this. And since we've got into it, I mean, my gosh, we've just been sucked into it for life. We've got units, like Maureen said, in about 14 plus countries. And the water that we've used is watering millions of animals, hundreds of millions of chickens and bees. The amount of eggs produced just over the last 8 to 10 years is incredible. It's just so far beyond, our wildest dreams. Turkey production out in the Midwest works out that the Chinese buy all their dark meat turkey. So you'd be hard pressed to go to China without eating a little turkey that we've helped grow. And you can't go out and have a corn chip or Dorito or a taco without having some of that corn grown on our water. And we're just touching the surface of this.
So structured water, just for the listeners, structured water is like taking this device, which we'll talk about more in detail over the show, but it's basically returning the water back to its natural state of having certain energetic qualities, as if it was flowing from a bubbling brook or from a stream rolling and tumbling over rocks. There's a life force, and I think many people are on the listeners worldwide would understand Dr. Emoto. Dr. Emoto was famous talking about how water has energy and has source, and actually certain things can be imprinted, like words like love or hate, and we would see the crystal lattice either be beautiful or very ugly. And we understand that chemicals, in terms of the environment, electromagnetic frequencies negatively in the environment, other things affect how water is structured, right? And water can be dead in a lot of senses.
Like when you buy bottled water at the store that's been sitting on the shelf for ages.
Right. And
that's
also
dead water.
And also when we use systems like through our house that are filtering the water, which we'll talk about, important to filter and clean water. But at the end of the day, the water is very stagnant still. So it might be pure of contaminants, but it's losing its life force. So in Ayurvedic medicine, or in the Eastern medicine, we'd say that the prana or the chi in Chinese medicine is kind of lost in that filtration. So explain to the audience a little bit more about how that water is structured just by sending the water through a simple kind of device that is uniquely designed.
Well, basically, what you're talking about, the chi, the life force in water. I mean, water is the most powerful element on the planet, and it's that fire in the water that we're talking about when we're talking about chi, talking about energy. And we can take water from a babbling brook, who's basically, no matter how clean it is or what part of the country it's from, the energy is fairly low compared to the energy that comes from a drop of rain. And well water is typically much lower in energy. And we can take even our smallest, oldest technical devices that other companies still produce to this day, and you can pour just a little of that through a little handheld device, and it'll kick up the energy of pond or well water to 3 times its energy. We've actually seen a test in New Mexico where we can take New Mexico well water and take it up to 3 times the value of rain, but you can pour rain through it, and it takes it up to 3 or 4 times or 3+ times.
Wow.
Energy value. It's of its own energy value.
I remember one evening we poured wine through it.
Oh, yes.
And definitely improved the flavor of the wine, too.
Beautiful. Taste buds, they must get the brunt of our mistakes as a society, because there's so much garbage in the stuff that we breathe, and most of it's going right over our tongue. Many people won't notice the difference between bottled water, distilled water, RO water, tap water. They don't really notice the difference. But when you take and pour a $9 bottle of Merlot through one of these things, it's like adding 20 years to it, and it just brings the life back to it. It also helps with the bioavailability of the alcohol too, so you can get a lot farther with a smaller amount.
Wonderful.
Flavor out, yeah.
Wonderful. So one of the things that we utilize with water is helping our immune system, and one of our sponsors who we love and enjoy, and this will help actually utilize the function of that, is Glucan 300. And if for those people who are listening, go to purebetaglucan.com and you can learn about how a beta glucan can help stimulate and make your immune system stronger, right? And one of the things is that if you take beta glucans with structured water, it will also make it work even better, which we'll talk about. So go to purebetaglucan.com. And if you want to get a special discount on the product, you can enter promo code PAI for a discount. So you were talking about the differences, and a lot of people think about filtration of water. And most people, when they buy bottled water, it's just filtered municipal water, right? Dasani, Aquafina, it's just like whatever's coming out in their city is just going through a big carbon filter or reverse osmosis filter. So that water removes contaminants like chlorine, chloramines, just sometimes just regular contaminants, heavy metals. But again, the water is dead. And this kind of device, post-filtration, is something that actually then changes the energetic qualities of that water. Can you explain just briefly about how that is used in other countries? I know we've been looking at it with many of the scientists that you've been working with for the past years, looking at improving yield, improving growth of crops. And you were mentioning like animal growth and farming and production agriculture. Explain a little bit about crop growth, because most of our listeners who are plant-based, and we're trying to tell people eat more plant-based, most of them are trying to grow their own gardens, right? And we're trying to have wonderful lawns and backyards. And most of the places around the world, especially in the US also, is having drought. So this is something that could be very helpful. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, back to what you're saying about you can filter water. You can take and filter out 99.9999 whatever percent of the contaminants in water, but the memory cells within water hold those frequencies of toxins. So you've filtered your water, but you're still actually getting the toxic effect of the water. And Dr. Emoto's work in the hidden messages of water make that really, really plain. And what we see in the fields with these things, and in different crops respond differently. I mean, like in India, over the past few years, and the farms that are using even our simplest device, we're seeing almost doubling their crops of rice. We're seeing up to 50 to 60% increase in tomatoes, about 30 to 45+% in melons, things of this nature. And basically, this is just a flashback to this whole increasing the natural energy of water. And what happens in nature and in agricultural scenarios is no matter where they're getting their water, and no matter how good they are at getting it down on their fields, a farmer can tell if his back acreage got a quarter of an inch of rain, the day before, because no matter, they can be irrigating the whole thing, but that where they've got that little bit of rain in the back fields, it grows an extra inch or two pretty much overnight within that next 24 hours of having that energy exchange. And that's what's going on with what we do. We're basically taking rainwater, which used to be, back before our time, the purest form of water on the planet. Now it's not so much, because the evaporated moisture is picking up toxic frequencies and toxins as it's falling down to the air. So even rainwater isn't pure water anymore, not by any stretch of the imagination. So even structuring rain, we've found huge benefits in crops for the folks that are growing and pulling the water off their roofs, or have water catchments and cisterns in their homes or around their homes. I'd say
so this is a great way to improve the yield. And after we come back from this break, we're going to talk about differences, because a lot of people have heard about, RO machines, electrical machines, Kangen machines, ionizing machines, alkaline machines. After this break, we'll come back. So listeners, you don't want to miss this, because you want to know where we're going to put the science and the money to the test. We'll be right back after these short breaks from our wonderful sponsors.
Is this where we run around in a circle and scream, yay, we made it?
You're clear.
This is where we just go on to Facebook Live.
So we're on Facebook Live, everybody. Thank you all for listening and paying attention today. Great information here. We're talking with Jeffrey Riggins on the aspect of structured water. I'm going to share something real quick on the screen here just to show. These are the structured water devices that we're showing right now. One of them is a handheld. One's going to be actually two handhelds. One's a small handheld unit for bottles, so that you can use. I use it with my RO filter.
Yeah,
at
you
home.
can screw it onto the top of your bottle.
Right. The other one is something that you can use as a larger handheld. There's also shower units and also inline main units, which we will show later on at the end of the show. So it's a great discussion, because a lot of people have been sold, I think, a lot of
Marketing.
Right? And magic water and alkaline, which we'll talk about in a second. But we really want to appreciate everybody listening today because it's something that it's not expensive. It's very effective. We've used it in our house. We use it in our clinic. We'll talk about some of those examples and stories online on air.
Yeah, we use it in our swimming pool.
Yeah, we'll have to. We'll even post a picture
That's
on Facebook
incredible
to show the improvement of that. So there's a lot of interesting things, a lot of cool things. Again, anybody who has questions, email us at radio RADIO at Sanjevani SANJEVANI.net, and we'll be glad to ask the question on air. So thank you all for listening. And again, if anybody is missing a episode, please go back and listen to the archives. It's on iTunes, or you can go to voiceamerica.com, Take Back Your Health on the Health and Wellness channel, and listen to it on demand. Also, there's a Voice America app that is for free, and you can also download it and listen to it on demand as well.
And don't forget to tell your friends about the show.
Tell your friends, tell your family. This is really important information that we get out there because we want to, again, help you take back your health.
You are tuned in to Take Back Your Health. To reach our program today, call 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or by email to radio@sanjevani.net. That's radio@sanjevani.net. Now, let's return to Take Back Your Health.
Welcome back, everyone. We're talking about structured water today with Jeffrey Riggins. And what is structured water? It's a device here that it's the 5th generation from his company. We've been working with Jeffrey in a variety of his iterations over the last decade of wonderful structured devices. These are all scientifically tested. And in fact, we've met some of the scientists out of Russia, and Trump was not involved in this transaction, by the way. But and there's a famous scientist named Dr. Konstantin Kordakov, and he's the head of this whole department of informational technologies, mechanics, and optics. And they've done studies where actually they can measure quantitatively, qualitatively, scientifically validating the change in the structure of water, which is really important. So this is not just something like, oh, it's fancy marketing. It's like they're actually doing studies. So when we show before and afters, when we show improvement of yield, it's not just growing something, it's actually seeing, does it have a higher energetic quality in terms of physics and chemistry? So wonderful, wonderful information. Now, Jeffrey, can you explain to the listeners a little bit? There's a lot of marketing on machines that alkalinize water, ionize water. I hate to use the word Kangens and all those kind of things, but those type of devices that are $3,000 and people are, MLMing it out there. Can you explain a little difference about what this is different? How does a Helix structured water unit compare, and why is it better?
Well, there's really no direct comparison in that the artificial ionization or alkalinization of water is literally just an electrostatic trick with the water molecules. It doesn't provide any real benefit to the body in extra energy or higher oxygenation. What it does do after you spend $3,500 on a fancy machine is it gives you the incentive to drink more water. And as Dr. Batman Gild in Iran showed us in his use of water and salt, your body's many cries for water, is even drinking puddle water, and enough puddle water is better for you than not drinking enough. Your body needs its acids in your stomach about where they are in order to digest the minerals that you're taking in. So artificially messing around with your water's alkalinity is the last way you want to change your body's alkalinity.
Right. We've been saying that for years because a lot of people, we are emphasizing evidence-based practices and evidence-based diet practices, which is eating a whole food plant-based diet.
Which is an alkaline diet.
So eating more fruits, more vegetables, more grains, legumes, eating more organic foods, less processed foods. The problem is most people are eating a highly refined, high animal protein, high animal fat diet, high sugar diet.
Lots of acid.
And that's all alkaline foods.
No.
Acid foods, sorry. Makes the body very acidic. And so all these devices, even people buying pH waters, high pH waters, those kind of things, the high pH waters is just an aspect of selling someone a symptomatic treatment. So,
Right.
they might eat something to feel like, I have a little heartburn. I drink a little alkaline water. I feel better stomach-wise, but that's just like taking an antacid. But what it is interfering with is the digestion and absorption of what the acid in the stomach is needed there. We need a high pH of the stomach to actually break down the foods, the nutrients, the fats, and micronutrients, and carbohydrates and proteins, etc. So alkaline water is just a cheating way. But although you're right, because we have people that we know who bought a lot of expensive machines, and they spent mortgages on it, and then eventually some of them returned it. And I just said, well, just maintain you drinking that amount of water, and guess what? They feel amazing.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's just drinking and staying more hydrated is key.
Yeah, it's absolutely the key. And the higher the permeability of water, the better it is the higher the energy, the smaller the molecular structure of water, the better it does at breaking down nutrients in your system. The lattice structure of quote unquote structured water at these levels basically is the transmitting line in your body to take the nutrients from foods and transmitting those frequencies into the cells. Most people, and we've mentioned this before, have this idea that when you eat an apple, that all the good stuff in the apple goes into the cells, but actually very little of the components of an apple goes into a cell. Most of the cell's nutrient energy is transmitted through this layer of water on the outside of the cell. The cell itself is also full of what we would call structured water, and it's through the structure of transmitting the frequency of, say, vitamin A that goes into a cell, and it's through that fluid matrix around the proteins and the genetics itself that feed the spark of life. So really, we're energy-based organisms. So the higher energy foods we take in, the better off we are. The higher energy water we take in, the better off we are. The higher energy thought we have, the better off we are. And it's truly a movement in consciousness.
Right.
So if people want to use these devices at home, what applications can they use them for?
Well, if you put on a home unit, which is not nearly as expensive as a Kangen unit, but the device basically structures the water in your entire home. The energy in the unit itself literally powers up your electric grid of your water system. It refines the water going through your tap into your glass. If you're structuring that water, you basically are providing your filtration, you're providing your showers, you're providing your family and pets the highest level of energy, naturally energized water that you can.
So it'd be great for your hair, especially if you're losing your hair, and that's due to the heavy minerals and contaminants in the water. So that would be excellent.
Yeah, and you see this most directly in absurd cases where you've got a swimming pool that's got X amount of shock, X amount of chlorine. For anybody sensitive, and most people in general, it burns their eyes, it makes their hair feel like straw, and it makes their skin feel really bad. And that's because the chlorine molecule is short an electron. It's scavenging electrons from your body.
Wow.
And basically, these structuring devices, for one level or another, are ion cannons. They're literally blasting electrons into the water, filling these electron gaps, and allowing these toxic substances to flow through you rather than raking parts of you off as it's going over your body. Most people don't realize the harm they're doing to themselves in a 15-minute shower. I mean, the facts are clear for a decade and a half now that you need about an ounce of water for every 2 pounds of body weight. But even drinking that amount of water, regardless of its quality, if you're taking a 15-minute shower in tap water, your body is absorbing more fluoride, more chlorine, more chloramine, more residue of pharmaceuticals in that 15-minute shower than your body would absorb if you actually drank 100 ounces of water a day. Right?
That's kind of scary because,
Yeah,
we
this is shocking.
forget our skin is a sponge. It's
the
not a
It's the
barrier.
largest organ, but we forget about that,
It is a sponge, and nowhere do you see this more evidently than structuring a swimming pool. Because after
Right.
you structured your swimming pool, you can swim around in it all day. It doesn't bother your eyes.
No.
It doesn't bother your hair. You don't have to go in and wash it off like you do for most of the hotel pools.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful.
And if everybody goes to our, we will post a picture, because what we did is,
It's phenomenal.
Maureen actually had some family members over. It was kind of like a reunion, and the kids were playing in the pool, and all the grandchildren and nieces were playing in the pool, and the party went on all day until the evening. And then one of Maureen's nieces got a new camera for the holiday. She was taking a lot of photos. And what we noticed is that, we took photos of the pool, and then at nighttime, she was taking photos of the kids swimming in the pool, and the camera was able to capture the structuring of the water. And these are undoctored photos. They're unphotoshopped photos, but we'll post them on our Facebook feed if you look at it, because what it looks like, it almost looks like ice cubes. It's like electrical ice cubes. You actually can see structured molecules of the water. It's too good to be true, but we didn't see it till after the photos we're looking at. I'm like, what's this? And that was structuring the water. And now we can do stages where if we don't structure the water and we take the structure of the water and we take a photo of that at night with the flash, we actually can see that. So not only we can feel it, we actually can demonstrate it visually. So pretty impressive. One of the things that we've done recently also in our office is that we've put the structuring in line of our office. We built our building 5 years ago. Our plants are growing amazingly.
Wow, the landscaping is absolutely amazing. In 5 years, especially the roses have just taken off. I can't believe how many roses they produce every year.
So it's a great thing. And we have an inline, one of those instant water heaters. Okay. And recently we had a little problem with our instant water heater. So we thought something was wrong with this. So we called the maintenance guy to come out and take a look. And he's like, oh yeah, in your neighborhood, it's always full of minerals and scales. We're gonna have to descale. We'll have to open it up and charge you this money to clean it out.
Or replace it.
Yeah. And we're like, well, that's really weird. And they came in, and when he opened it up, he's like, oh no, there's no scale in it. What happened was we had an old repair on our landscaping, and a rock got into it, and that was blocking the piping. But what it was is that there was no scale because we've had that inline unit that changes the structure. And he was surprised. He's like, I've never seen anything in this area of this town that doesn't have scale. That's their main thing to do, is descale. And so, again, a great testimonial, even though we didn't know, because it's like, hey, I thought I put this in this building. And it actually, when they opened it up, it was clear and clean.
And also at home, when we put the unit on the shower, not only does it feel better when you take a shower, I don't have any of the mineral buildup on the shower equipment or even on the floor of the shower. And I remember you saying that to me, Jeffrey. You won't have to clean the shower so much, and it looks great.
And it seems like things even lather a little bit better. It just feels a little bit more silky or a little bit more smoother. It's a different way of explaining, because most people think like they go to a shower, they shower, and it's like there's a difference. But once you experience it, you go, wow, it is different. And I had no idea, taking a 15-minute shower every day, that's a big part of your day. It's a big part of your life. It's a big part of exposure. It's a big part of cooking your food and your vegetables. So we always run the little handheld unit here. We have a reverse osmosis. We just run it, and we fill our pot of vegetables, or the water that we're steaming our vegetables with or sauteing, all our beverages. It's quite impressive. So it's a great thing for everybody to take a look at. Structured water device from Helix, or they can go to sanjevani.net, SANJEVANI, and just click on, when it looks at products and services, look at structured water, and we'll have more information for you about that.
I also remember you saying to us that anywhere in the vicinity where that energy structure is, it emanates a particular type of energy. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
We find in schools of fish, like koi ponds, the fish start schooling again. Neighbors start becoming more neighborly, and families are more familial. And you actually see this. It does tend to bring up a lot of unspoken issues at times, but that's what energy is supposed to do. That's what families are supposed to do, get into nice, coherent environments and work out our difficulties together with love. And the energy just really helps.
So here's what a great study would do, is taking an inline unit, putting one in Congress, one in the White House, and see what happens.
That's a great study. Let's try it.
Okay.
Soon.
So we'll be right back after these short break from our sponsors, but we definitely want to talk about more about how to use structured water in your home, in your business, and also comparisons in terms of cost, and also other health benefits. What are the health benefits?
What about using it with Pure Black?
Yeah, we're going to talk about how you can enhance now other supplements, again, taking back your health. So we'll be right back after these.
Very valuable.
All right, we're clear.
Thanks. Okay.
All right, everybody, we're on Facebook Live. Thank you for listening. We were talking to Jeffrey Riggins about Helix water structure devices. We use them in our home. We use them in our office.
In our swimming pool.
In our swimming pool. We've been doing it for years.
Landscaping.
We do a lot of studies ourselves with our plants and with our pets and with our patients, because we always want to make sure, like, is this something that, that really works? And we're on the, using the 5th generation now. of these devices. And so it's just improved and improved. And Jeffrey and his team of people and scientists and friends have been working on this night and day for a decade now or more, looking at 14 different countries or so of using these things. And so we appreciate Jeffrey joining us today. And we appreciate everybody you listening here on Facebook Live, because I take a time out of your schedule to listen to a wonderful show. Again, also listen to the archives that are available to learn more about taking back your health.
You know, I was thinking about our dog, Winnie. She's our therapy dog that we have here in the clinic. And if I just give her regular tap water, she won't drink it. So we've started giving her structured water. We bring it into work with us and wherever we travel, and she'll drink that water. But if it's just regular tap water, she knows the difference.
And the cool thing is that if I just bring the little handheld, I can just pour the water through that into her dish, and she drinks it because she's just now being very spoiled.
Yeah. Well, animals know that whiskers on animals, that's a sensor array that somehow or another we lack. And, you know, as far as using this to make a difference in life, I do recommend building a mile-high wall around Congress in the Senate, filling it with structured water.
That's where we need to put the wall.
Yeah.
Back to structuring. You know, structuring your water. You're basically structuring all the liquids in your system. So that means anything that you eat is digesting better. It's metabolizing better. I mean, literally, what these.
So hold that thought, because when we come back here, I want the audience to listen to that specifically, because we want to look at what if we use structuring water for cooking and then eating, or even things that we cook and maybe we freeze and then we reuse, or how that can actually help preserve or keep the foods fresher. Maybe that could be some of the discussion as well.
Better for our digestion.
Health and wellness.
You are tuned in to Take Back Your Health. To reach our program today, call 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or by email to radio@sanjevani.net. That's radio@sanjevani.net. Now, let's return to Take Back Your Health.
Welcome, everybody, back. We're talking about structured water here, right, Maureen?
Yes, we are.
And we're talking with Jeffrey Riggins, owner of Helix, HELIX.co, about these wonderful structuring water.
HEALIX.co.
Thank you. I speak too fast. So I'm drinking a lot of structured water, by the way. So one of the things we're talking about is enhancing, and you were talking about cell structure enhancement and improvement of structural response. And just on a few episodes before, we interviewed Nodari, and he's the owner and patent owner of what we call Pure Black, right? PURBLACK.com, Pure Black without an E. And that pure mineral live resin shilajit actually improves cell response. So this is what we do in our practice. Again, we're always looking at how do we synergize things, right? How do we eat a plant-based diet? How do we look at exercise, stress reduction, meditation, yoga, those things? And how do we keep stacking in terms of improving our overall health outcomes and improvement and resilience to getting illness? And one of the things is that if you use the structured water and you put it in the little shilajit or the pure black resin, it actually makes it more active. So now you're taking something that's more active into the cells. Those cells are even more responsive at improving your cellular response. Again, healing, immunity, inflammation, repair, bone health, etc. Go back and listen to that archive. But this is something that it will change everything, so we can make and enhance your food, your vitamins, your minerals, your supplements even better. So go to pureblack.com. And again, if you enter promo code PAI, P-A-I, you can get a discount. So go ahead and we were talking about these devices now, and we were talking about the differences between alkalinization machines, and we're not really recommending high alkaline waters because you're actually changing the pH of the body. Eating a healthy diet, plant-based diet, and more alkaline foods, not acidic foods, you'll already get there. So you don't need to spend thousands of dollars on a machine that does something inappropriately or that could be potentially problematic.
We still do recommend that you put an RO unit on.
Any kind of filtration unit is important because we got to most municipal waters is full of toxins. I mean, you can get the normal testing and you can see heavy metals, you can see pesticides, you can see herbicides. And the biggest problem that we have in my book, An Inflammation Nation, if you go, there's a section there, it'll tell you the cities that have the most toxic water with pharmaceuticals. Because remember, when we take a pharmaceutical and we metabolize it and we urinate it out, or we pee and poop it out, it goes into a wastewater recycling machine, and then it comes back through municipal water. So we see different pockets of the country with high pharmaceuticals in the water coming through municipal water. So Seattle, for example, will have high antidepressants, right? It's always cloudy. That's why we have Starbucks and we have grunge music, right? And then you can see like Las Vegas, tons of hormones, right? So we can see this in the country. This is one way that we can use things that after you filter, can we improve and make that water a little bit healthier, a little bit more energetic, not so negative and dead.
Well, it's not a little. We make it many factors beyond the baselines, no matter how you wish to look at it, whether it's cellular response, mind function, the energetic response directly, just touching it. Holding a beautiful organic fruit makes you strong, all right? When you do it kinesiologically or do the muscle test. If you rinse that off in tap water, it makes you as weak as if you're holding a cell phone. That's a direct correlation to how energy destroys the life-giving property of nutrients. When you can take something that literally in 1 second makes you strong, rinse it off in tap water, and it makes you as weak as if you had your phone in your hand.
Wow.
And nowadays what we're doing with the rings, just having this in your hand, just having one of these rings or one of these small units in your pocket, and you actually can pass the cell phone toxicity test kinesiologically. Right. The impact is energy, energy, energy. Tesla said it. Einstein said it. Everybody that matters to science over the last 100 years has said we are energy, and energy is everything. And anything that we do to impact our energy is going to take our health down, because where's health? What's down health? Low energy, and we look like we are drying up old boot leather as we get older, because one, we've been depleting our energy, and two, that lack of hydration, lack of cell hydration, it gets less and less and less over time, because the cells themselves, even though they replicate every 60 to 90 days and you have all new cells, they don't come back as good as last time. They go through replicate fading, get worse and worse and worse. But if you can keep your plant-based nutrition up, if you can keep your hydration up, if you can keep your thoughts and your focus a little higher above the fray, you're going to have to get run over by a bus to die.
Well, let's hope that's not going to happen.
So what I want to explain to all the listeners is that when you talk about rings in these units, I'm going to put a little video. I'm going to put a little screen up here for those people who are watching Facebook Live, and for the audience, you can now just take a quick look. Here is basically they're handheld, so it looks like a cylinder, and it's filled with special type of crystal balls, which Jeffrey will explain the materials. It also has these rings. These are the rings that have the different minerals. It has the different contents in there, and you can unscrew, especially on the large handheld unit, you can unscrew the top off and actually carry these rings with you. You can put them in your pocket. You can
I use them in my therapy room.
People can, massage
people
therapists
who are
can
in
use
pain
it.
Or
it's very interesting
need healing
experience. So definitely take a look at that. And if so you have these little devices, and explain to the listeners, because remember, most people are listening to this show, is that it's the water goes through this little acrylic, and it's either acrylic or you have stainless steel or you have gold. There's different ones that you can get, but it goes through these little balls, and it creates like a toroidal field, right? Explain that kind of spinning effect and what that is actually doing.
And what are the balls inside of it?
Okay, on the small devices, it's basically a borosilicate. It's sand. Now, it's just simple glass. In the newer and larger devices, we're using all quartz. Whenever you spin water, it starts releasing energy that's bound up in the molecular bond. When water's tumbling down the rocky bottoms of a stream, it's picking up mineral frequencies. It's interbulating. And these little microvortexes do to molecules what a tornado will do to a house. You throw a house in a tornado, you've got nothing but kindling wood. It's the same thing with the water molecule. Even though they're tiny little spins, it's huge G-forces that are created within that. And it's in that spin that allows the natural energies of the water to be released. And what we're doing with the rings is basically this is like a CD that records or replaces the negative energies or the low res energies in the molecular structure with the high res nutritive energies of the elements, the minerals, and the organic material within the devices. I don't go anywhere without them. I have about a third of an acre garden. I'm 56 years old. I've told my minister that not even God can get me on my knees for 5 hours a day, but my garden can. All right. And the thing is, I know within 5 minutes to leave, getting into the garden if I left my ring in the house. So I'll go back in, it's 100 yards just back to my house. Just stick a ring in my back pocket or drop it in.
So we're talking about like a little bit of like energy medicine, and we're talking about structuring water. So when people get this handheld, especially the larger handheld, then actually has two applications, right? You can use it for structuring the water, and you also can use it for more of a personal energizing device, which, believe it or not, we use it in our therapies. We've seen wonderful effects to that. So it sounds kind of esoteric for many people until you experience energy, positive or negatively, until you've drank or experienced even structured water on your body. It is something quite unique because, again, everybody thinks, oh, water is water and this is that. I'm like, this is something completely different because this is what is supposed to, nature intended. Just like, again, you said, standing out in the rain and feeling the ionization of rain, that always feels people to feel more energetic, more alive. We were in Costa Rica. We were in the cloud mountains, the Monte Verde, and that energy there was just amazing. But this is kind of like putting all that into a little handheld device for all of us who live in the city, who live in a high rise, live in apartments. Hey, I'm living even in a trailer. I can still pour my water through a water bottle in the structured device and still get that benefit. Again, not taking a mortgage out, not borrowing on credit cards for paying for expensive multi-level marketing purpose machines or electrical parts. Now, there is no parts that need to be changed or there's no filter. There's no, how do you maintain this?
Well, you just basically keep it clean. It's water. You're just running water through it. You don't have any real issues with keeping it clean. When you use it for juices and wines, you want to be able to rinse it out well. And if you should ever not rinse it well and throw it in your suitcase after, a night in Las Vegas and you've used it in wine, all kinds of sticky stuff could build up in that. Sure. You want to avoid that. It's like you're china at the house. You use it, you wash it. But if you don't, you can always take it apart, rinse out the components, and put it back together.
How long does it last, Jeffrey?
Well, we've still got units that we made 7, 8, 9 years ago. Our oldest tech that are still in use today. The house that I'm here out in the Gulf Coast of Texas, they're still using our units. There's folks down the street, neighbors that picked up these units when we were back making them out of glass and PVC, are still using the same units. It's like your iPhone. It could potentially last forever. Just try not to drop it.
Sure.
Even in the nicer ones, you don't want to throw them around. But if you take reasonable care of them, they will reasonably last the rest of your life. And something too, for the same amount of money, actually for a little bit less, I'd highly recommend this simple pair of devices. One for your pocket, because these rings are literally, we call them rejuvenator rings because they are. They're like a quantum battery for people. You just drop it in your pocket. This little guy here, you can carry it around wherever you go. Comes in a cool little bag, little tube that's in it. You can carry it any way you want.
And what are we talking about as far as price for these things?
The little guys here are $125, and the large rings are $125.
Oh, wow.
So not much, In
Super
fact, most people will spend more on bottled water, right? Because bottled water, right, if you think about it, per 16 ounce is more expensive than gasoline.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
So here we're talking about, now you can make a cheaper wine and then make it taste better. You might get a cheaper alcohol. Not that I'm recommending anybody to drink, but if you do drink, you want to drink responsibly. And maybe, your $2 $2 chuck can taste like a $20 chuck. So anyways, after this next break, we will come back and we'll continue this discussion about how structured water can help you take back your health, improve your vegetables, improve your health overall, improve the energy of your environment.
Sounds like a winner.
and improve the life of your pets.
Well, nobody talks about the impact on intimate relationships.
Yeah, we'll talk about that after we come back.
One thing we've never talked about the structured water that matters.
All right.
What happened?
Okay, you're clear.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, we're on Facebook Live. Thank you for listening again. Really cool information. The two things that we recommend for everyone, the simple way to do it, inexpensive way to do it, is get these rings right here. You can get them on our websites, sanjevani.net, and go down to the
You
structured
can use
water.
them for pain. You can use them for healing scar tissue, wounds. It'll definitely accelerate the healing.
And even just start off with the small handheld. This is what we usually use because we have the little RO coming out of our sink. We do have a large inline unit that goes for our house and goes for our office. But, in the beginning, just start off with something really small. See what you notice the differences. Water your plants with it. Fill a bucket of water and
put it in your aquarium for your fish.
And we'll talk about that on coming back, talking about the koi ponds that we were seeing up in Taos, and all that aspect of how that filtration. So everybody, the simple way to look at it, it's just two simple things to start off with, right? And then go and judge for yourself. The evidence will be there. You will experience it. Trust me. We've been using this for a long time. We've never had any of these devices let us down. And in fact, it is way cheaper and more effective than any of these fancy marketing devices. Again, we're all about science and evidence, and this is something that we've seen clinically.
How nice that you can travel with it.
You can travel with it.
You don't know what kind of water you're going to get elsewhere, so it's always good to have your little water device with you. Easy to put in your bag, your suitcase.
Right. So everybody, again, this is the water handheld. Okay, it's about $125. Pretty much indestructible. In case made out of acrylic with some special silica balls and the special ring that's inside there. But you get the individual ring for the larger handheld, and that can be used. I will also show a picture right now so that you can get a better view of what it looks like. And you can see that there's two units. One of them is a small bottle topper. The other one's a handheld unit.
You are tuned in to Take Back Your Health. To reach our program today, call 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or by email to radio@sanjevani.net. That's radio@sanjevani.net. Now, let's return to Take Back Your Health.
Welcome back, everybody. This has been a great, exciting show for me and hopefully for you listening out there all around the world. We want to thank you all for tuning into our wonderful weekly show. We're talking about structured water here with Jeffrey Riggins. And again, we were talking about the handhelds, the small units that you can use very simply. It actually screws onto the top of a bottle. So for those people who drink bottled water, you can just run it and just drink right out of it. Or you can put this, I put my reverse osmosis, I just hold it. It's about, for those who are listening, it's about 2 inches. It's like it's a size of a quarter, kind of a little bit bigger than that. And it's about a 2-inch cylinder. It's very light. It's very easy to carry. There's a larger unit that's a little bit heavier. It's a little bit larger. And they can get even larger units that are more for commercial and in-home use.
And in those handheld units, the larger handheld units, there's different colored crystals. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
Well, we've started looking at the finer aspects over the last 20 years of using rare earth elements, of the subtle differences in energy of quartz crystal versus emerald versus topaz, which is tourmaline and all of that. Part of the mineral mix in the ring is a broad spectrum of these semi-precious stones.
Wow.
So we're actually utilizing all of those beneficial subtle energy frequencies. There's folks that are in the metaphysical healing field, especially out in LA. So they've had me, do units with their personal favorite sets of semi-precious balls. Years ago, when we were just starting to work out in the Midwest, we had a stone dealer that wanted to use, she had a big selection and wanted me to make her a unit for her house with tourmaline and all of her favorites. And it was the spookiest thing. I built this thing up. I put it on our water heater floor. We were there for a few days on vacation in Mount Ida, Arkansas. And I swear to God, it made my hands vibrate for an hour when I washed my hands up.
Wow.
It was the spookiest thing. The folks that were there, because it was not just myself and my wife and my friend Joseph from ABC Organics, but everybody that took a shower said, you're not imagining. It's like your skin vibrates for about an hour. Well, I never put any of those out after I made one more that I showed my guys out in the Midwest, the Hutterites out there, and they're pretty low-key, very conservative. They already thought this stuff was spooky science enough. But when they washed their hands and their hands would vibrate, they started talking about the devil must be involved. I haven't gone so far as to making full, you know, semi-precious stone units.
But maybe in the future that might be the 6th generation.
It'd
Yeah,
be
it might be
nice.
the
But right
sixth
now we
generation.
have the 5th
I'm looking at
generation.
transport technology. Actually, on the larger units, the home units, and everything that we're doing in agriculture, we have moved over to all hand-cut Brazilian quartz. Right now, we're still using the borosilicate in the small devices. But
Right.
I want to say something else about, you know, this is an inexpensive combination compared to a handheld. But if you just want to try one thing, this, you can put it in your pocket. You get the same energetic effect. Granted, it's not the 3 times stronger that you get with one of these rings.
Sure.
I'm serious. Just having one of these things in your pocket, and you will pass the cell phone test with your
Right.
iPhone or Samsung. And that's saying so much. It's just
Right.
saying so much.
Now a lot of going back to the water. So we don't really agree with pH waters. It's more of a gimmick, and it affects your digestion, absorption, assimilation by changing the acidity in your stomach, which you don't want to do. You want to have. That's why you're given acid to begin with.
Yeah.
Now, what about oxygenated waters? A lot of people now also have they're adding extra molecules of oxygen to somehow super hydrate your body. But we look at it as like you can't biohack your body. You can, and I think what this is doing is more enhancing what nature more intended. Everybody's always looking at trying to biohack with supplements or with diets and gimmicks. And we're looking at those things are always due to fail, because the body's not something, nature's not something that you biohack. You enhance it, you appreciate it, you respect it. And I think this is something that you've actually put together in these devices.
Right. Well, it said in Jurassic Park, nature always finds a way. You can only keep a genie in a bottle so long. This is one of the things structuring does is it opens up the bioavailability of the oxygen that's already in that water is already made up of. You don't have to squirt oxygen into water. Water is oxygen. It's oxygen and hydrogen. And literally the way your body works, kind of like a fusion generator, it's using oxygen so your cells can burn hydrogen. So this is why it works so well on pathogenic bacteria. Pathogenic bacteria can't stand the extra oxygen. They can't stand the extra energy. So when we're in these icky doggone barns, we're improving the health of these animals who are literally, some of them walking around in their own feces, because we're kicking up the energy. There's bacteria everywhere, but we're kicking up the energy of the water. We're kicking up the energy of their environment because of the way this energy works in the field effect. But we're also kicking up the extra available hydrogen in the water that they drink, which is pretty much cutting back the reproductive and the nutrient assimilation from the pathogenic bacteria. And
what we've seen is in Taos, one of our friends who's done a lot of energy studies as well, as they've had a koi pond in their yard, and they had a lot of mold and algae and all that stuff in the koi pond, and they put one of the inline units in the water circulating system, and then within a few days it just cleared up. Without any chemicals, without anything adding. So, and the fish are there, but it was like almost swimming pool water. It's like, wow, how that happened. And it's just like, so people who have aquariums, fish tanks, large ponds, this could be used for agriculture, for all the people, which we'll have later on discussions in future shows, those people who grow plants, who grow vegetables and gardens, but also those people in the business of growing specific type of plants for medical medical purposes, depending on what city or state you're in. But like for example, in New Mexico, we have an issue where there's only so many licenses for medical dispensaries for cannabis use for our cancer patients, seizures, MS, etc. We'll have shows on that getting discussion. But the thing is that we can't get more licenses. So what we have to do is improve how we improve the yield of the growth of a plant. So same thing. So if you're not a cannabis grower, you can still grow more tomatoes. You can grow your lawn so that you're not putting, roundups and chemicals and more, just herbicides and pesticides. This is something that you already have the water coming out. Put this onto your house. Put this onto
your landscaping mains.
A landscaping main, and wow, you save hundreds and hundreds, even thousands of dollars a year without putting chemicals and extra things that are toxin into the environment. So very, very exciting, very important to have these kind of things available that are low cost, that last a long time, that are not electrical. You don't need filters. You don't need to replace it. So that's why we know when they were looking at this in India and Brazil, when they've done studies on crops, improving, Jeffrey was talking about twice the yield of the rice and 30 to 60% of other crops growing, is because we have drought. Farmers can't afford to even put a pesticide or herbicide or some kind of growth modifier. This is something, again, everybody can use very simply and effectively.
It's a good way to start out with the small one and work your way up to the full house.
Right. In the full house unit, you basically tap it in. A lot of people in your area in Arizona would simply just bury it in the ground or put a little burial box in there, hook it up to where it gets all of their spigots, it gets everything throughout their house. And it's just wonderful. And for less than a third the cost of the Kangen unit,
right,
you're getting naturally ionically balanced water rather than, going off the deep end just for alkalinity. Because, we found that in some water, it'll bring the pH up. Some water types, it'll bring the pH down a little bit. The bottom line is we let nature figure it out. It makes all of the nutrients that you're eating more bioavailable. And especially if you're eating a plant-based diet,
right,
it's going to help establish that balance.
Regardless. Well, thanks, Jeffrey. I appreciate everything that you've mentioned today. The show is almost over here, so we want to thank everybody for listening. Go to Helix, HEALIX.co and Sanjevani.net and look up Structured Water. We have more information for you there. For those who are all listening, again, this is Structured Water with Jeffrey Riggins. How to structure water, bring more water, bring more life back to your water. We also want to thank our sponsors as well. Please listen and support them. Again, thank you all. Best of health. See you next week.
Guys. I totally enjoyed it. Y'all have a great day. Look forward to seeing y'all soon. And
you're clear.
All right. So we have now we're on Facebook Live, everybody. Thank you. We had a wonderful show. Thanks for listening with Jeffrey Riggins. Now let's talk a little bit extra since we have a few more minutes to talk, which we didn't get to talk because time goes by so fast. You were talking something about sexual health.
Oh, absolutely. Whether it's a woman or a man, it's all your level of energy. Why do we have don't have the same perk that we used to have when we were younger folks? It's all energy level, and all of health, psychology, everything, I truly believe stems off of the energy of life itself. And health is about hydration, mineralization. Without the mineralization, your body can't even use the vitamins that you're taking effectively. So you start working on, it's just that. It's hydration, mineralization, vitamin uptake, detoxification, and do something about your stresses. And, there's nothing more stress relieving, than beneficial intimate relations. But we're carrying around this, we're living in low energy societies. We're stressed out by our environment. Our food doesn't have enough minerals even in it, much less bioavailable. So we're not getting the proper utilization of the vitamins that we're intaking. Even if we are eating organic, there's just not enough minerals for us to fire off the vitamin exchange that we need within our body. We're all stressed out. We need to do something about detoxification. So take more swims, take longer baths, take long walks, and spend more time cuddling. And, you find all of this stuff so much easier when you're hydrated,
Right.
And if you have one of these units that's giving off all this wonderful energy in the household or outside into the neighborhood, wow.
It's so true. We deal predominantly with most of my customers. $500,000 worth of our sales just in the last 7 years have been either the Hutterites, Mennonites, and a few Amish. These are some of the most conservative people in North America. All right. But I've had many of them tell me privately, it's like, Jeffrey, it's just like when we were first married.
I love it.
Right.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah. And for those of us that are more normals or more abnormals, hydration's the key. And to me, and this is why I spent so much of the last 9 years in the agricultural side, because, when I take and provide structured water to 1 million animals, multi-millions of people, unfortunately, eat those animals. When we've got thousands of units out across the globe on tens of thousands of acres, and this is producing hundreds of tons of plants every year that go out Every one of those little molecules in those doggone vegetables is better for you. The corn's less toxic, even if it is GMO corn. We find it's less toxic. The eggs that are being produced, the million tons of milk that has been, produced by the 500, just the one herd of 500 Holsteins producing an average of 11 to 16 pounds of milk a day, each cow. All right, add that up over day in and day out for like 7 years. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of pounds of milk that have gone out to dairy products, into people's homes. And we've got to do this just by, applying simple natural techniques to making the water more energetic and more alive. And
so when you grow the plants, the size of the plants are larger, like your fruits and vegetables are larger, as well as, the leaves of the plants, they're much larger in size.
Yep, it's like the differences in piles of fruit is some of my favorite stuff. And it's in every case, the structured side is bigger plants. When you're looking at the how many bolls on the cotton plant, or how many leaf nodes, or how long the leaves are, and how tall the plants grow, how deep the roots grow, every aspect of the plant has changed. And when you look at a chicken, I mean, its brains are bigger. It doesn't have as much water. It's not as much fat. Its feet are bigger. Every aspect of it is improved.
So we have smarter chickens and smarter turkeys now.
When we use it here at our office, the roses have just taken off, and
they're so beautiful.
A lot of patients, of ours, they all have gardens. A lot of people like to, have rose gardens and whatnot, and they always come and say, well, what are you using? What's the, what minerals? What's the magic formula? Because everybody has these magic formulas. Farmers and gardeners, they always have their special thing that they put on. Like, we say nothing. We just put this unit on, and it's on the sprinkler timer. That's all we use. And it's great because, again, being in a desert where there's very little water, it's how do we enhance and improve our yield is super important. So those people who are listeners and those people who actually own dispensaries, get in contact with us. We can help you with how to improve your yield, so that improves your crop, right? Instead of using chemicals, let's go back to using just regular water and enhancing that water, structuring it so that you can actually provide a better product, less toxic.
And totally affordable.
You definitely get more out of the nitrogen that you use for plants. You use less nitrogen. You get more bioavailability of all the nutrients that are important to those plants. And I mean, we've provided water units for people all up and down the West Coast, even before some of the other states had legalized. California they had their, we've made a big impact, let's say, using water structuring devices on all aspects of agriculture in California, from strawberries to medicinal herb, and now we're seeing it everywhere.
And you were talking about India too. You've made a big impact in India. That's important.
Yeah, we personally built and shipped over 3,000 units to India over the year. Since then, we've contracted them to make their own. They've made their own for years. They started making the new stainless units a couple of years ago, or right up until the time that the person behind all of this passed away there, the gentleman Radhakrishnan, and my heart goes out to him. He was one of the finest individuals I've ever met. He was a ramrod of this. And now that's pretty much come to an end with his passing, we're looking at doing what we can to help continue this work across India. And, what's neat is all of this has picked up a life of its own. Even the people that are out there knocking off some of our older units, and even knocking off the units that we've made most recently, that's okay. They're still getting out there. You can't do structured water units wrong, all right?
Right, but you can make them better. And so that being the 5th generation, which we have right now, is key.
Right here with iPhone.
Right.
We were Clayton was the innovator of the ball stacks.
Right.
We were the innovators of mineralizing the structured water devices. We still make some of the finest devices on the planet, and we're still miles ahead of the competition. But in my mind, we don't have competition. We just have people that are making similar devices, and every one of them are worth whatever they're charging for them.
Sure.
And always working on newer and better.
And what, again, just for the listeners, again, on Facebook today, is that it's really simple, because you don't need replacement parts. You don't need cartridges. You don't need electricity. So once you have the handheld unit, which is the one to start off with, or a Ring, or both of them, if you go to the website Helix, HEALIX.co, or Sanjevani.net, look under structured water. we can help you with that. They got larger units, and they got ones for the home and in line. Your pets will like it. Your gardens will like it. Your body will definitely like it. Your vegetables will seem to be flourishing. We are just doing great with our use of these devices in our home and our practice. So we thank you for joining us today and sharing a little bit of your knowledge and your technologies of how we can use something very simple in daily use to improve our overall health and the health of the environment.
Yeah, well, I just encourage anybody to try them. You know, it's really up to you. It's all about personal experience. Try one of these things. I'm sure you're going to like them. If for some reason you don't, I guarantee I'll be surprised.
Okay, Jeffrey, it's a pleasure speaking with you, and we'll hopefully bring you back later on another show. Maybe we'll hear from some of the guests, some of the listeners who have bought these devices after a couple of weeks, and see maybe we can share some testimonials or some stories.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and anybody that purchases one of the units, especially from the show, if they'll just send back their comments, their experiences, just a little note of questions, I will personally give them 5% off just by asking questions or sharing a few experiences. So it makes it easier and less expensive to share these with their family. Their input's valuable to me, even if they're there to give me a negative experience. I want them all, and it's good for 5%. Send me your notes, your questions. And
photos.
Yeah, photos. Let me
Photos
see.
before and after of your plants, of your tomatoes, of your lawn, of your rose bushes.
You know,
it's great. That's what we've been doing that a lot in our office. We do that a lot for things that we do, but we encourage people to do it themselves so they can see like, wow. And again, very inexpensive, long lasting. It's wonderful. No chemicals, good for the environment, good for each person. So again, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
All right.
Thanks.
Blessings. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody on Facebook Live. Again, this is Dr. Pai and
Maureen Sutton.
And we'll see you next week. Best of health.
Next Monday, 2 p.m.
Thank you.
Mountain Time.